I didn't have gum when I was in the dining room. I'm going to make a complaint to the captain.
Billie Thomas, known to many as the lovable Buckwheat from our gang, was a cherished child star who brought joy to countless fans. However, behind the scenes, his life was much more complex than the innocent happiness he portrayed on screen. From impostors claiming to be him to startling impersonations on national TV, Billie's later years were marked by turmoil and controversy. Stay tuned as we explore the lonely life and tragic end of William Billie Thomas. Before diving into the tragic aspects of Billie Thomas's life, it's important to first grasp the context of the show that catapulted him to fame. Our Gang, also known as the Little Rascals, was a groundbreaking series that began in the 1920s. It featured a diverse group of children from different racial and socioeconomic backgrounds, creating a rare and inclusive portrayal of childhood friendship in a racially segregated America. This beloved show became a cultural phenomenon, captivating audiences with its heartwarming stories and endearing characters. Among these characters, Buckwheat, portrayed by Billie Thomas, became one of the most memorable and iconic. Billie Thomas's association with our gang began in 1934 when he was just 3 years old. Initially, Thomas appeared as a background player in various shorts, such as For Pete's Sake, The First Roundup, and Washi. At this early stage, the character of Buckwheat was actually played by young actresses, with the role originally conceived as a girl. This gender swapping was part of the show's experimental approach to character dynamics during its formative years. In 1935, Billie Thomas officially took on the role of Buckwheat in the Our Gang short film Mama's Little Pirate. Despite Thomas being a boy, Buckwheat continued to be depicted as a girl for a period. This decision reflected the entertainment industry's practice at the time, where young children were often dressed androgynously. This approach allowed for a seamless transition between actors while maintaining audience familiarity with the character, who had previously been portrayed as female. During this era, Buckwheat's appearance was heavily influenced by prevailing racial stereotypes. The character was often dressed in a way that reinforced the pickaninny stereotype, featuring oversized hand-me-down clothes, large boots, and bow-tied pigtails. While these portrayals were a product of their time, they were problematic and deeply troubling by today's standards. Unfortunately, such stereotypes were all too common in the entertainment industry of the 1930s, reflecting a broader trend of racially insensitive portrayals. As our gang evolved, so did Buckwheat's character. Initially portrayed as a girl, the character's gender transitioned to male over time. This shift was officially marked in the 1936 short film The Pinch Singer, where Buckwheat was first referred to using male pronouns. This kind of gender transition was not entirely new to the series. A similar change had been made with another African-American character, Alan Finina Hoskins, in earlier Our Gang films. Even after this transition, Billie Thomas continued to wear the same androgynous costume for a period. It wasn't until the 1936 film Pay As You Exit that Buckwheat's appearance underwent a significant transformation. This film introduced Buckwheat's new look, which featured overalls, a striped shirt, oversized shoes, and a large, unkempt afro. This distinctive costume became Buckwheat's signature appearance for the remainder of the series. The change in Buckwheat's appearance marked a significant turning point for the character, aligning his look more closely with Billie Thomas's own gender and establishing a distinct visual identity for him. This costume update was closely tied to Billie's role in the 1936 Our Gang feature film General Spanky. In this film, Buckwheat took on the challenging role of a young slave, which necessitated a different appearance. The movie included scenes where Buckwheat interacted with men on a riverboat and requested that the character Spanky be his master. Billie Thomas's association with Our Gang was notably long and impactful, extending from 1934 to 1944. Over this decade, he appeared in nearly every short film produced, missing only one due to illness. His enduring presence and consistent performance made Buckwheat one of the most beloved and recognizable characters in the series, solidifying his place in the hearts of audiences. In the early years of his Our Gang career, Buckwheat was frequently paired with another young character named Porky, played by Eugene Lee. Together, they formed a charming duo of younger children who often clashed with the older members of the gang, particularly Spanky and Alfalfa. This dynamic generated a multitude of comedic scenarios, becoming one of the defining features of the series. The partnership between Buckwheat and Porky allowed for a variety of storylines that showcased the differences between the younger and older children in the gang. Both Billie Thomas and Eugene Lee had speech impediments as children, which were cleverly woven into their characters. Their distinctive garbled dialogue became a hallmark of their performances, with their memorable catchphrase, "Oot," originating from Porky and later adopted by both characters. This catchphrase became an iconic part of the show. The integration of the actors' real-life speech patterns into their roles was a unique aspect of Our Gang, lending an added layer of authenticity to their performances and endearing them further to audiences. As Our Gang transitioned from Hal Roach Studios to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, in 1938, the series underwent significant changes in cast and production style. Despite these shifts, Billie Thomas remained a steadfast presence. Remarkably, he was the only cast member to appear in all 52 MGM-produced shorts, highlighting both his popularity and the enduring appeal of his character, Buckwheat. This period of transition marked a notable shift in the series' production style and tone, reflecting the broader changes in Hollywood at the time. By 1940, Billie Thomas had outgrown his childhood speech impediment, which had previously been a distinctive feature of his portrayal of Buckwheat. With Eugene Lee no longer part of the cast, Buckwheat's character began to evolve. The writers started to depict him as a more typical African-American youth, moving away from the exaggerated speech patterns and stereotypes of his earlier appearances. Throughout the early 1940s, Buckwheat continued to be a central figure in the Our Gang shorts. As one of the older and more seasoned members of the cast, Thomas brought a sense of continuity and maturity to the series. His character often served as a voice of reason or a loyal friend to the other gang members, demonstrating a depth that went beyond the simplistic portrayals of his earlier years. Billie Thomas's journey with Our Gang concluded in 1944 when he was just 12 years old. The final film in the series, Dancing Romeo, was completed in November 1943, bringing to a close a beloved chapter in entertainment history that had spanned over 2 decades. By then, Thomas had grown up in front of the camera, spending nearly his entire childhood as a cherished member of the Our Gang family. The character of Buckwheat, portrayed by Billie Thomas, left an indelible mark on American popular culture. While Buckwheat was beloved by many for his comedic charm and endearing qualities, the character also became a focal point of controversy due to its portrayal of African-American youth amidst a backdrop of significant racial tension in the United States. Our Gang was groundbreaking for its time, featuring an integrated cast of black and white children interacting as equals, a rarity during the Jim Crow era when segregation was prevalent across much of the country. This progressive representation had a profound and positive impact on the black community. Julia Lee, a noted scholar on the racial history of the Little Rascals, highlights that actors like Billie Thomas were viewed as heroes by many African Americans in the 1920s and 1930s. In an era when positive portrayals of African Americans in the media were scarce, child actors from Our Gang stood out as some of the most popular black stars in the United States. Their presence on screen provided crucial representation, showcasing black and white children as friends and equals at a time when such images were rare. By challenging prevailing racial attitudes and offering a vision of integration, Our Gang presented an early model of inclusivity that resonated with viewers of all backgrounds, giving them a glimpse of a more integrated society. However, as societal attitudes began to shift and the civil rights movement gained momentum in the 1950s and 1960s, the portrayal of Buckwheat and other characters in our gang came under increased scrutiny. Organizations like the NAACP began to push back against racial stereotypes in the media, including those depicted in the Our Gang shorts. In response to these concerns, the NAACP negotiated with King World Productions, the distributor of the series in syndication. Rather than removing the series entirely from broadcast, a compromise was reached. The shorts would be edited under the supervision of the NAACP to remove the most offensive examples of racial stereotyping. This approach allowed the series to remain on air while addressing the problematic elements of its portrayal, of its challenges during Our Gang. Billie Thomas's early life took an unexpected turn into the world of entertainment, starting from modest beginnings. Born William Thomas Jr., he was the only child of William Thomas Sr., a janitor working at the Wilton apartment building in Hollywood, California. His family's humble circumstances seemed far removed from the glamour of Hollywood, but fate had other plans for young Billie. At the tender age of 3, Billie's life took a dramatic shift when a unique opportunity arose. The producers of Our Gang were on the lookout for a new child actor to fill the shoes of Stymie Beard, who was growing too old for the role as he approached his teenage years. Recognizing the chance for her son to enter the spotlight, Billie's mother took him to a series of auditions for the popular series. The casting process for Our Gang was known for its meticulous standards. The producers were searching for children who not only fit a specific look, but also had a natural charm that would resonate with the show's audience. Billie, with his endearing features and innate charisma, stood out immediately. His presence quickly captured the attention of the casting directors. Among the many children who auditioned, Billie Thomas was selected to join the Our Gang cast, marking the start of his remarkable journey in entertainment. His initial contract offered him $40 per week, a substantial sum for a child actor in the 1930s, reflecting the promise the producers saw in him. This marked the beginning of a decade-long career that would make Billie a beloved figure on screen. However, Billie's transition into show business was not without its hurdles. Naturally shy, Billie occasionally struggled with delivering lines clearly, a challenge compounded by his young age and inexperience. This shyness sometimes led to speech difficulties during filming. Yet his charm and innate talent allowed him to overcome these obstacles and remain a standout performer on the show. One of the more uncomfortable aspects of Billie's role was the Buckwheat costume. The oversized, stereotypical attire that defined his character was something Billie did not enjoy. He often looked forward to changing out of the costume as soon as filming concluded for the day. Despite these discomforts and challenges, Billie found genuine joy in his work. He developed a particular admiration for Clark Gable, whose performances he admired and perhaps saw as a model for his own aspirations in the entertainment industry. The producers of Our Gang took significant steps to secure Billie Thomas's future, given the unpredictability of a child actor's career. They ensured that 10% of Billie's weekly earnings was set aside to purchase United States savings bonds, held in trust for him. This thoughtful arrangement was intended to provide a financial cushion for Billie's future, extending beyond his time with the show. In addition to his work on Our Gang, Billie had the chance to broaden his acting experience by appearing in a few feature films. These roles allowed him to diversify his skills and gain experience outside the familiar confines of the Our Gang shorts. Despite these opportunities, Billie's relationship with acting began to shift as he grew older. By 1945, at the age of 14, Billie chose to leave the entertainment industry entirely. This decision marked the end of his prolific child acting career and the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Transitioning from a celebrated child star to a regular teenager posed its own set of challenges. His high school experience was marred by the stark contrast between his previous life in the limelight and the ordinary teenage experience. Adjusting from being a recognizable figure on screen to blending in with his peers was undoubtedly a difficult and unsettling process for Billie. Billie Thomas's life post Our Gang. After Billie Thomas's stint on Our Gang ended, he confronted the formidable challenge of transitioning from the limelight of a child star to the complexities of adult life. This shift was far from smooth and took him on a journey that diverged significantly from his early years as Buckwheat. In 1950, at the age of 19, Billie embarked on a new chapter as a father. He welcomed his son, whom he named William Thomas Jr., continuing the family legacy. This early leap into parenthood marked a profound transformation in Billie's life, pulling him further from his childhood fame and thrusting him into the demanding responsibilities of adulthood. In 1954, at the age of 23, Billie Thomas made a significant life change by enlisting in the United States Army. This decision was in line with the experiences of many young men of his era who viewed military service as a route to stability and new opportunities. Billie's 2-year stint in the Army was marked by dedication and service, and upon his discharge in 1956, he was honored with the National Defense Service Medal and the Good Conduct Medal for his exemplary service. Upon returning to civilian life, Billie faced a pivotal moment. Like several of his former Our Gang co-stars, he grappled with the decision of whether to resume a career in entertainment. Although he was presented with several opportunities in film and stage, Billie chose to retire from acting permanently. His choice was shaped by practical considerations and a desire for a more stable life. Reflecting on his decision, Billie later noted, "After the Army, I wasn't really interested in the hassle of performing. Even the big stars had to chase around an audition. It seemed like a rat race to me with no security." This perspective underscored his preference for a life away from the relentless demands of the entertainment industry. Despite his decision to leave acting, Billie Thomas didn't sever his ties with the film industry. Instead, he embarked on a new career path that allowed him to stay connected to cinema while enjoying a more stable and behind-the-scenes role. Billie transitioned into a successful career as a film lab technician with the Technicolor Corporation. In this role, he was responsible for processing negative film reels for major motion pictures, a crucial job in the filmmaking process. Billie's work as a film lab technician allowed him to contribute to the industry from a different angle. One of his notable contributions was to the 1975 blockbuster Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg. His work on this iconic film was a testament to his continued involvement in high-profile projects. Later in his career, Billie also worked for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, where he played a role in processing the film Logan's Run, further cementing his place in the industry he had once graced as a child actor. Billie Thomas's role as a film lab technician evolved beyond just a job. It became a deep-seated passion. His work processing film reels ignited a keen interest in the technical aspects of filmmaking. Eager to expand his knowledge, Billie delved into the realms of film editing and cutting. This pursuit of further expertise highlighted his continuous curiosity and commitment to growth, even long after he had left the entertainment spotlight. During this period of career transformation, Billie's focus was not solely on his professional achievements. His son, William Thomas Jr., was making significant strides of his own. William Jr. pursued higher education with determination, culminating in his graduation from California State University, Northridge, in 1975. This milestone was a source of immense pride for Billie, symbolizing the fulfillment of his aspirations for his son's educational and personal success. In 1992, William Thomas Jr. made a heartfelt gesture to honor his father's legacy by establishing the Buckwheat Memorial Scholarship at California State University, Northridge. This scholarship was designed to support students and ensure that Billie Thomas's impact would extend beyond his own lifetime, providing opportunities for future generations while celebrating the contributions of the beloved actor. Then, in 2010, William Thomas Jr., took further steps to preserve and share his father's story by writing and publishing a book titled Oh, the Billie Buckwheat Thomas Story. This work offered a deep and personal exploration of Billie's life, covering his experiences both during and after his time on our gang. The book served as a tribute to the man behind the iconic Buckwheat character, providing fans, scholars, and historians with a comprehensive look into his life and career. Although Billie Thomas had chosen to leave acting behind, his legacy as Buckwheat remained cherished among fans of our gang. His rare public appearances continued to draw considerable attention and admiration. A notable instance of this occurred in 1980 during Hollywood 80, the second annual gathering of the Sons of the Desert, a fan club dedicated to Laurel and Hardy. The event, held from July 30th to August 3rd, 1980, at the Los Angeles Hilton Hotel, attracted over 500 enthusiasts. The event featured tours of iconic Hollywood landmarks, but the highlight was a special ceremony on July 31st. This celebration honored several former Our Gang members, including George McFarland, Dorothy DeBorba, Tommy Bond, and Joe Cobb. When Billie Thomas was introduced and took the stage, the audience's reaction was electrifying. He was met with a spontaneous standing ovation from the crowd, a gesture that deeply touched him and brought him to tears. This heartfelt tribute underscored the lasting impact of Billie's contributions to the entertainment world and the enduring affection fans held for him. Controversies. In the later years of Billie Thomas's life, he found himself unexpectedly thrust back into the limelight due to a series of impersonations and media-related controversies, despite having distanced himself from the entertainment industry decades earlier. These impersonations, where individuals falsely claimed to be the real Buckwheat, generated significant public interest and confusion. Interestingly, Billie himself was remarkably unfazed by these impersonations. Rather than feeling troubled or upset, he often took a humorous view of the situation, finding amusement in the fact that others were so eager to emulate him. Nonetheless, one particular case of impersonation drew considerable attention due to its high-profile nature and the ensuing controversy. This instance stood out not only because of the widespread media coverage, but also because it stirred considerable debate among fans and the public. In a dramatic and unforeseen twist, ABC's esteemed news program, 2020, fell victim to a high-profile case of impersonation. The episode, narrated by Hugh Downs, featured a segment that claimed to have located Billie Thomas, famously known as Buckwheat, working as a grocery bagger in Tempe, Arizona. The individual they interviewed, identified as Bill English, asserted that he had changed his last name from Thomas and chose not to sign autographs to avoid interfering with his job. This false report ignited a significant uproar, particularly among Billie Thomas's friends and family, who were outraged and dismayed by the mishap involving such a reputable news organization. The situation caused considerable distress, as it not only misrepresented Billie Thomas, but also failed to uphold the journalistic standards expected from a prominent news program. The fallout from the incident was swift and substantial. ABC News was compelled to publicly acknowledge the error and issue a formal apology. Myra Pearl, a spokesperson for the series, confirmed that subsequent investigations, including obituaries, revealed that Bill English was indeed an impostor. She further noted that the show's executive producer, Victor Neufeld, conceded that there had been a significant lapse in the research conducted by the production team, leading to the erroneous report. The controversy surrounding the 2020 segment had far-reaching consequences. Lynn Murray, the producer responsible for the segment featuring the fake Buckwheat, resigned in what was described as a mutual decision with ABC. The resignation came after it was determined that Murray had failed to conduct proper research for the segment titled Whatever Happened to Our Gang, leading to the erroneous inclusion of the impostor. The repercussions of this incident extended beyond the network, affecting Billie Thomas's family deeply. His son, William Thomas Jr., filed a lawsuit against ABC, alleging that the false report had caused him significant emotional distress, loss of employment opportunities, and public embarrassment. The lawsuit highlighted the personal and professional damage inflicted by the misleading broadcast. Compounding the issue, it was later revealed that the idea to interview Bill English originated from a viewer's letter rather than from English himself. English had been deceiving people for decades by claiming to be Buckwheat, and the public exposure of his deception through the 2020 segment brought his long-standing fraud into the spotlight. While the 2020 incident was a major controversy, it was not the only one related to Billie's legacy. On the one-year anniversary of Billie Thomas's death, October 10, 1981, comedian Eddie Murphy made headlines with his portrayal of an adult Buckwheat on Saturday Night Live. Hosted by Robert Blake, a former Our Gang co-star, this sketch marked the beginning of a series of Buckwheat impersonations by Murphy. Although popular among audiences, these sketches sparked controversy due to their portrayal of racial stereotypes, adding another layer to the complex legacy of Billie Thomas and his iconic character. Eddie Murphy's portrayal of Buckwheat on Saturday Night Live was both satirical and highly exaggerated, leaning heavily on the character's distinctive mannerisms and speech patterns. Murphy's sketches featured Buckwheat in humorous and outlandish scenarios, such as releasing an album of cover songs and promoting Buckwheat jeans with the catchphrase OT emblazoned on the pocket. While these sketches successfully rekindled interest in the Little Rascals, they also ignited a debate about their appropriateness and sensitivity. The controversy centered on concerns that Murphy's portrayal was reinforcing negative stereotypes and discrediting Billie Thomas's legacy. The exaggerated depiction of Buckwheat, coupled with the inclusion of comedic elements that some viewed as disrespectful, prompted criticism from various quarters. The situation escalated when Murphy's sketches included a dramatic storyline where Buckwheat was killed off, in a parody of media coverage surrounding high-profile assassinations. These sketches featured repeated replays of the fictional shooting, sensationalist news coverage, and even a follow-up involving the arrest and subsequent shooting of Buckwheat's supposed killer. The mixed reactions to Murphy's Buckwheat sketches included significant backlash from those close to Billie Thomas. George McFarland, who played Spanky in The Little Rascals, was particularly vocal in his criticism. He expressed his disapproval, stating, "I didn't care for them a bit. Mr. Murphy did a very poor imitation. He made Buckwheat into a stereotype that he wasn't, at the expense of the people in his family who are still alive." Billie's son, William Thomas Jr., also found the sketches offensive, feeling that they undermined his father's memory. Years later, Eddie Murphy addressed these concerns, acknowledging in an interview that he had not intended to disrespect either the character or Billie Thomas. Murphy's comments aimed to clarify his intentions and address the criticism surrounding his portrayal, shedding light on the complex intersection of humor, legacy, and sensitivity in entertainment. The lonely, tragic death. In his later years, Billie Thomas lived a largely private life, stepping away from the spotlight that had defined his early years as a child actor. However, his life came to a tragic and untimely end on October 10, 1980, at the age of just 49. The circumstances surrounding his death were somber and somewhat mysterious. According to coroner's investigator Philip Spada, a neighbor who had not seen Billie for several days entered his southwest Los Angeles home on that Friday afternoon and discovered him deceased in his bed. Police reported no signs of injury or forced entry, and an autopsy was conducted to determine the cause of death. At the time of his passing, Billie was living alone, and while it was known that he had a son, his whereabouts remained unknown. In the years leading up to his death, Billie became embroiled in a contentious dispute with a man named James Frazier, who claimed to be the real Buckwheat. Despite the claims and some public confusion, former cast members such as Stymie Beard and Darla Hood, who played Darla, consistently affirmed Billie's authenticity. Beard stated, "William took my place when I got too tall. I don't know anything about James Frazier." Darla Hood, before her passing earlier that year, emphatically supported Billie's identity, asserting, "There was only one Buckwheat. William Thomas was Buckwheat." James Frazier, a 59-year-old city park attendant at the time, expressed regret over Billie's death and acknowledged their resemblance, saying, "We looked like twin brothers when we were growing up. He was always a nice guy. We didn't fall in love or anything, but I'm sorry to hear that he's dead." Despite the disputes, Billie's legacy as Buckwheat remained a cherished part of our gang history.